Right. So thanks again, Carla, for meeting with me and to talk about mental health. I'm really excited because I've been following you for a while. And the reason why I chose you specifically is because I believe that you are on a genuine journey. And I want to know, like, what keeps you going? Why did you start the journey to raise mental health awareness online on social media, specifically on Instagram, because that's the platform that I'm on. And to start, I wanted you to introduce yourself to everybody who's following.
Wow, this is always a tricky question. I swear to God, it sounds so easy, but it's always a tricky question. Well, my name is Carla. I'm a writer, a poet, and a mental health advocate, always, every day, forever. Mm-hmm. And I think for this topic in this conversation, I think that's all. Mm-hmm. Yeah, a lot more, but for now, that's all.
All right. So the first question that I'm really curious about, why mental health? Why did you pick that specific thing to advocate for on your platform?
I remember it was 2017 when I realized that not talking about it doesn't make it disappear. It actually makes it worse. Mm-hmm. And silence honestly kills us. And when we really try to suppress our emotions, it just suppresses us. So whatever you're dealing with, any demons you are dealing with, is going to be heavy on you if you're not talking about it. That's the why. Another thing is we are human. Emotions. We are going through life. And I don't think anyone has a study guide of, I'm going to make the correct choices. I'm going to do this. So it came a time in my life where I made choices on autopilot. Right. On autopilot, it was just who's making decisions? There's decisions where now I'm who was this person? I'm making my choices based on what society wants me to choose. Oh, yeah. I'm following this highway that is called life, but it's uniform. My neighbors is doing the same thing. So I just thought that it was exactly what I was doing. So I was living a collective life, not an individual life.
I love that. One thing I wanted to ask you, and I think this is a good time, is do you think that exploring mental health is a luxury? Because I can definitely relate to that, being in survival mode, being on autopilot. And it's only a couple of years ago that I started to really sit down and think, how am I feeling? And what am I doing about it? How am I educating myself on mental health? Do you think that it's actually a luxury to be able to think about it and to explore these things and to get better? Because a lot of people will tell you, you're crying because you don't have any real problems. That's why you have the luxury to be talking about this. What do you think about that?
Oh my God, it's a luxury. I was talking to a friend when I think she said, where do you find the compassion and the grace for people who says who are using the language that are harmful? Because I was home a couple months ago and a friend was how do you manage to be in emotionally unsafe environment and actually have some grace? I'm I don't really have a tool kit like that. Mugabo, what keeps me going is remembering that I was once this person. Mm-hmm. That today I have the luxury to have a resource to just pour some knowledge out of, right? Mm-hmm. I have a friend to talk to. I have my therapist to bounce ideas off, right? Mm-hmm. I have these conversations. Not everybody are this fortunate. Right. So it's yes, to answer your question, it is a luxury to be able to find a book on something, to be able to have therapy, to be able to have a language.
I was about to say language, to read the book and understand the book.
Yes, right. Language is a powerful tool because we all out here being, okay, I'm feeling sad, but sometimes there's a lot of underlying emotions that comes with that. So the lack of, there is this book I read, it's called Permission to Feel. There's this professor from Yale who wrote it. And it's crazy how statistics shows that once we actually don't know what we are feeling, we can't really navigate the feeling, because if I'm being cranky at noon and I'm out here being like, oh, I'm hungry, that's the only thing I'm telling you. Know what I'm saying? So it's a luxury to have a language. It's a luxury to be able to put a name to what you're feeling, to what you're going through. That way, at least you know what to do.
All right. So in a world where you're surrounded by people who don't have that luxury, coming from the communities that we came from, how are you navigating that world of trying to educate people that it's important to take care of your mental health? And what kind of resources do you think that people who don't have access to these books that are in English or French, who can't really talk the language, how do you reach out to those people? And honestly, I do feel that those people are the ones who need a lot of mental health care and who need these tools to be able to navigate life. But how do you approach that?
I also want to know your take on this, because I'm at a place where I've come to an understanding that it's not my place. Sometimes it's not my place to do that.
I love that.
If I love you, I will be there to hold your hand, but there are certain rivers that I can't cross with you or for you.
Mm-hmm.
So to answer that, it depends on where the person is at. Because it's not my responsibility to notice things in you, or I guess everything with context, in a certain context, it's possible, but understanding that I can't stop someone's growth. I can't interrupt it. We get to where we get at a different pace. So if I got where I am, or if I started this journey in 2027, some of my friends are starting it today.
Right.
Which means there's certain conversation that I've learned not to have with people I love based on where they are in their lives.
Yeah.
So unless it's when we are talking mental health, unless we are talking severe clinical stuff where someone might be harmful to themselves and others, or need help, where I have to to actually be there and have an action on it. And then if it's like this small thing where you have to seek therapy, or where I have to point out things or raise awareness, I've come to realize that sometimes it's not my place. Yeah. How about you? Because it was hard to let go. It was hard to let go. I feel like 2019, I was even telling my dad, I'm like, what? How you? And I'm like, it's taxing on me. And I realized because in their eye, I'm the crazy one. In their eye, I need help. So it's just like giving each other space, loving each other where we are, and understanding honey, we can love each other, we can share this space, but I don't have to force you here. Yeah. The same way I wouldn't want you to force me back there. Yeah. You know?
I think for me, it's a journey. I have always been kind of a fixer. If I see a problem, I want to fix it. I like accepting that, oh yeah, it's okay, it's that way, and I'm gonna leave. But now I'm learning to just let go, to detach, and to, like you said, allow people to be on their journey. Because you can, I don't know if I've seen anybody, it's a proverb, I think in English, that says you can bring something to the river, but you can't make it drink or something. You can do all you want. You can tell somebody about all the books you have read. You can even send them videos that discuss topics, that break them down at the basic level. But if they're not willing to do the work, then you can't do anything about it. And the only thing you can do is support from a distance. Because what I've realized is worrying about other people's journeys, trying to fix other people's problems kind of became a burden on me as well. It drained me mentally, which affects my own mental health. So learning to put a boundary and being like, yeah, I'm willing to help if you need help. If you need resources, I can point you here and there. But at the end of the day, it's everybody's responsibility to take care of their own mental health.
Yeah.
So yeah, learning to detach, I think, is a big one, a huge unlock for me.
Right. And if you look at it, honestly, I think it's the best way to love somebody, because I feel like it's so inconsiderate to want people to see things from your perspective. It's like, let me sidetrack a little bit. When I redefined my definition or my relationship with God, I was like, I was tired of the God I heard from others. I was tired of the God I heard my mom talked about. I was tired of the God that my mom prayed. I was like, can we have this relationship that way? I know the testimony. I have my own testimony. It's the same thing what we're saying, because if I'm interrupting your growth, if I'm pulling you on this side, I'm like stopping you from experiencing things that may actually drive you, things that you might need to push you through the journey, you know? Am I stopping you from looking back and be like, okay, I have where to look back and be like, I don't want to go back there. But if I do that for you, you won't like, I'm just like not loving you enough, you know?
And that's the wrong way to love. I think the right way to love is to be able to let the person be free. And like you said, as long as they're not harming themselves or harming others, then it's their journey. And you can talk all you want, but if they're not ready to receive that, you can't really do anything about it. But then it brings me to this question I have for you. So recently I've started to be more like vocal about mental health on social media. And the reason why I'm doing that is because I realized I spend hours on Instagram scrolling aimlessly, looking at content that doesn't bring joy sometimes. And I would like to see more positivity. I would like to see more content that leads to growth. And so I was like, you know what? I'm just going to start unapologetically posting about mental health. But I want to know what you think about that. Because have you been able to be consistent with this all these years?
Spoiler alert, it's never gonna get easier. Hey, let me tell you. Hey, spoiler alert, it's never gonna get easier. It's never gonna get easier. So how did I do it? The question is, I'm still doing it. It's honestly speaking, it's one of those things where you fall and you get up. It's one of those things. I have tools myself. I have sometimes. Okay, I've gotten better. I've gone to releasing myself from wanting to be consistent, as they say, because I'm not getting paid for it, right? So I shouldn't chain myself on an everyday post. So I've allowed myself to do it when I want to do it, and I've realized that it's actually better, because if I chain myself on that consistency, I start just over functioning, producing content out of just not an authentic way. Yes, having to. So people will always think whatever they think. Sadly, it's one of those things where you just have to find, you know, like how you always walk around, or how in your house it is always a first aid kit. You always need that first aid kit. I swear to God, there will always be one person who will just come and say something. And then as human being, we remember the negative than the positive. If there is 109 comments about it, you will remember the 2 that are mean.
Yeah.
Right? Yeah. So again, again, I'm fortunate enough to have done the work on myself, to have a therapy, to know myself today enough to fall and find in my first aid kit a conversation with my heart and be like, you know what's actually true? That's that person's version of the story, right?
Yeah.
Even because, and also sometimes we identify with, oh, if I'm confident, I can't be insecure about this. Like, for example, me, with my writing and my poems, like people can just come to me and tell me how great they are. I will never believe them. So I have to believe it for myself, right?
Yeah.
So there will be one comment that will take you where you don't want to go. So again, it's a luxury that I am able to tune in and be like, okay, how do we feel? Like, this is an ouch. Like I do ouch. Like I say it out loud. I'm like, ouch, this actually hurts, you know?
Yeah.
Because it does.
Yeah.
And sometimes I log out. But then the issue is when you log out, the fear of missing out. Hey. You know, you go back after a week, you see all content, and you're starting to base your own worth, your own ability to produce something. You base it on how much Natasha has produced, you know, because I was absent. So it's that fear. And the balance, there's a fine line where we just, basically what I'm saying here is a trial and error.
Yeah.
Knowing that it's never going to be easy, and knowing that, I wouldn't want to say something that is not factual, but like knowing that we are not alone, and it's okay to feel the way you feel. Because even though we know it's Instagram, it's easy for us, it's easy for our brain, depending on whatever conditioning that we have, it's easy for our brain to just go in the comparing ourselves mode, right? It's easy for our brain to just base our ability to put something that is valuable out there and base it on the likes or on the reshares, right? I personally, even when I put something out there, I can spend like a whole week without even looking at the comments. There's a poem that I posted like a week ago or 2 weeks ago. I've not responded to any comments because sometimes I'm like, these things sometimes don't make me feel good. And again, it's also depending on the season that you are in. If I've been tired, working, not sleeping well, or having a breakup or a friendship breakup, like when everything around me are not working well, and I look on the Instagram likes and reshared, of course I'm doing myself a disservice. Like, of course. So it's one of those things that we're realizing that it's your content. It's something that you, at least for me, whatever I put out there, it's something that I'm like, okay, if I can reach one heart, I would be a happy person, right?
Yes.
So if that's how I feel, that means I created with my heart. I created with my heart. I created wanting to reach a heart. So if I feel like I did not reach that goal of mine, I will feel bad about myself. So it's realizing that I'm able to feel that way and being like, okay, can we take a rejection right today? And sometimes honestly, it's not even a rejection. Sometimes honestly, it's not even, like, probably you algorithm on Instagram is just whack. You probably posted it where, and then Instagram hid your post. Nobody's seen it, right? And then go back to it. So, but then the idea that you're not worthy, the idea that nothing is working, that you're not, you know, we all want to be seen, we all want to be heard to a certain extent, right? So when we don't have things, like when we don't have anything to hold ourselves onto or to lean onto, and then we go, and then it doesn't go the way you expect it to go, or how your mind expected to go, then it's not gonna work. So How do you do it? How have you been navigating it? Because you did not stop.
Yes. So this is what I told myself, exactly similar to what you're saying. I told myself, I want to do something that I know I'm not afraid to be embarrassed by. Like if I put it out there, I stand by it. Even if one person likes it or like nobody likes it, I'm willing to stand behind that. Reminding myself that if I get one person who says, "Oh, I really like what you're saying. It's helping me. Like, can you like share more?" That one person is enough. So I'm like focusing on the positive feedback that I'm getting versus getting lost in all the negative feedback and the what's happening on the other side. I'm trying to really have a focus, tunnel vision on what I'm trying to do. What am I trying to accomplish? I'm trying to raise awareness on mental health or self-care in general. And if there is one person who receives that and it benefits them in any way, that's enough for me. The other millions of people who see it and don't feel inspired or want to connect with it, that's fine. They're on a different journey, and this is not serving their journey at this point. And so focusing on who I'm trying to look for, it translates as self-care, right? And this is something that I'm really passionate about, being able not only to be aware of our mental health, but to maintain wellness. And that's the toolbox, right? The things you use in order to maintain your wellness. I'm curious about that. What are the things that you do to keep yourself going, to rejuvenate yourself at the end of a long day, or when things are not always going up. Sometimes you have downs, just like anybody. So how do you deal with those moments?
I used to have like a certain toolbox. I'm like, this is what I gotta do every day. So again, I've given myself the freedom to commit to myself, but day to day. I know I love meditating, so I don't have to meditate the minute I get up in the morning like I used to, but I give myself that one thing that will fuel me, that will give me that connection with myself just for 5 minutes. I usually shoot for an hour, because usually that's why I said 9 p.m. It's not usually 9 p.m. That's my time where I take a shower and read a book and just check in a little bit. So my toolbox honestly are making sure I'm spending time with myself, making sure I'm recharging myself. And that can just look like taking a bath and just thinking about how I'm feeling, right? It can look like reading a book and reflecting on it, right? Because the books I read are books that fuels my heart and stimulate my brain, right? It can be as simple as going to bed early, or as simple as just unplugging and not using social media for a day. So it depends on what the day look like, as long as I'm showing up for myself. I usually have a promise to myself every day, like as simple as like, I want to drink water today, for example. So, and I just challenge myself into, okay, I have to do this. That way I know sometimes I feel like I don't have to sit and think because I didn't do anything, you know, but it looks different, but I just need to be present. To be present, because there is a time in my life, that's the one thing that I make sure I do. I have to be present. There's a time in my life where I really don't know how I was working. I really don't know how I was navigating through life. I never sat down and thought, you know, and so I have that fear of losing myself. So I have to make sure I'm staying in tune with myself, and that just it's not the same from Monday to Sunday. It can be like everything I said.
Yeah. So in terms of connecting with yourself, I know that you have published a journal with prompts, right?
Yeah.
What inspired that? And is that also related to like self-care and checking in with yourself?
Yeah, especially the promise to myself. That's the one thing that I kept. The prompt was mainly my friend, because again, the same way I talk about mental health with everybody I meet, I talk about journaling, because our brain has a powerful, it's so powerful enough to stop you from thinking, right? So
Yeah.
journaling, I always told my friend, like, please journal, try to jog it down, you know?
Mm-hmm.
And it's like, I don't know where to start.
Mm-hmm.
And then there's a time in my life where I had to unlearn everything I knew.
Mm-hmm.
When I say everything I knew, I mean, why do I like white chocolate? Why do I like strawberry, not vanilla? Like, I got to a point where I'm like, okay, this life is a scam.
Yeah.
I don't know why I believe this. Where did I hear it? Who fed me this BS? I don't know.
Mm-hmm.
So slowly, because I journal a lot, so slowly I would just find a question for me. As simple as, who is my support system, for example, right?
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm.
And sit down with the definition of support system, and first of all, defining it for me, understanding it for me.
Right.
And sometimes I would maybe realize that support system is probably not the obvious people that I thought were supporting system, right?
Yeah.
So, and I'm like, okay, this is very interesting. So that's how I got to journal. I'm like, there are certain questions that we never ask ourselves.
Mm-hmm.
And then my friends don't know where to start journaling. What is one sign of love I can give to someone I love, and like have them discover that for them, have them answer those questions for themselves, because you go back there and read it, right? So I was like, how about I just incorporate in that journal the routine that I have to have in the day, right? As simple as, what am I grateful for? What am I grateful for, right? As simple as a promise to myself. Like, today, what is my intention? Is today my intention to just finish the book? And then teaching myself to not betray myself, which is also something that I had to learn. I had to learn to not betray myself, because I don't betray others. I don't like to disappoint people pleasing, you know? I have to recover from that, and I have to tend to myself and make sure that the same way I'm pleasing everybody else, I need to please myself. So what is the one thing I can just promise myself and make sure that regardless, because I know if I promise Natasha I'm gonna be here at 9,
you're gonna be here at 9.
I'm gonna be here at 9. But if I promise myself I'm gonna go to bed at 9, I will find a reason
not to.
Like, what? You know, it's simply challenging myself. I'm like, I said I'm gonna take a shower before bed.
Yeah.
Let's do this, you know?
Yeah.
So yeah, it was mainly that.
Yeah. One thing I like is that you said that I really find helpful for people. I've always loved writing. I've started writing very early on, but one thing I think that helps with journaling, especially as to use it as self-care, is to list the things that you're grateful for, gratitude. Because the moment you start thinking about the things you're grateful for, it automatically switches how your brain is working at the time, because you start to see, oh, my life is actually not that bad. Oh, and it can be very small things, like I'm healthy. I had food to eat today. I woke up. I have a job, you know, small things. But that switches your perspective and allows you to see that maybe things are not so bad. You can get through another day.
What are your self-care routine, or what is your toolbox? What do you do to make
so I started meditating when I was like 15 years old, and I was really into it a long time, but I kind of slid away from it. But now I'm rebuilding and reconnecting to that side of myself. I love writing, obviously, so that's how I've always dealt with my emotions, writing. Every time I feel something, I just write it down. And I've now, as I grow older, I'm learning to like open myself more to people, to be trusting in relationships and share when I'm struggling, like use my support system, because there's always people who care about you genuinely. But again, it's important to really recognize who those people are so that you're not disappointed when you bring your problems to the wrong people who are not necessarily invested in your growth. And another thing is learning who I am, like setting what are my values, what are the things that I want to aspire to be, like what kind of person do I want to be, and then setting goals to determine how do I get to be this person. Mm-hmm. Another thing that I really like to do, I spend a lot of time watching motivational videos and like TED Talks that talk about self-improvement, getting better, how to learn how to problem solve, all these things, like investing in my own growth. I think that's self-care as well. All right, so we're getting really close to time.
Yeah.
So I have a few questions that I wanted to ask you, just like funny questions, but what does a perfect day look like for you?
Oh my God, a perfect day look like I get up, sit in the couch first thing in the morning, have coffee and do nothing. Oh my God.
Yeah, for me that's kind of the same, but read a really good book and not go out for the day, because I really like staying at home. Even though I'm a very adventurous person and I like to explore, I like to stay at home as well.
What are you reading right now?
Oh, right now, that's a good question. I'm reading a book that I read a long time ago, but I'm rereading it, called The Road Less Traveled by Scott Peck. I don't know if you're familiar with this book. It's really good. It's about psychology and mental health, but it's mostly I'm like through chapter 2 right now, but it's talking about accountability and discipline being really important for people to maintain good mental wellness, because a lot of people, what they struggle with is being able to delay gratification, to face their problems. People either prefer to avoid thinking about problems, or they go to drugs or other things in order to forget those problems. And so learning to face problems is a way to grow through them. So that's a really good book, actually. I really highly recommend it. It's kind of dated. It's a very old book, but some of the things that are in there are really good. What are you currently reading?
I'm reading Radical Awakening from Dr. Stefani, and I just started. It's like chapter 2, but it's only dedicated to women. At least as far as I've gone, I realized that's only for women, because she's focusing on how much we delay our own awakening because of how we are brought up, etc. Yeah, the self-betrayal, everything she's talking about.
Radical Awakening. Okay. Yeah. I will put it on my list.
Put it.
What do you feel most grateful for in life?
In life in general.
Just in general.
It's gonna be cheesy, but for myself.
I like that.
I'm very grateful for myself.
You see, the funny thing, I wouldn't have thought of myself if you asked me that question. I would have said, yeah, I'm grateful for health, for my support system, but yeah. I like that.
Yeah, I'm grateful for myself because I'm realizing that like I am holding myself. I am being there for myself, and it's just, I'm like, if I don't have me, I don't have anything. So I'm grateful for me. I like that. But what are you grateful for?
Well, now that you have said it, I am grateful for myself, but really I'm grateful for my support system. Yeah. I'm grateful that I have like close family that has been there for me. I'm grateful for friends who have been with me for a long time. I'm grateful that I get to have a job and work at something that I really like. I'm grateful that I'm curious in life, that I'm always, looking to learn, that I'm always thirsty for knowledge. I really am grateful for that.
That's something that you should be really, really grateful for, because being curious is something that not everybody has,
Yep. The last question I wanted to ask you, but before we go, if you could time travel to when, like, any other point in your life, where would you go and why?
If I had to travel, where would I go and why? I would probably go to when I was 10, 11 and be there for me, hug me, because I feel like it's an age where at 9 years old, I started writing, I started poetry, but I think that the main reason was being lonely. I wish I could go back there and hug me. I hugged the 9 years old me, the 10 years old me, the 11 years old me. 12, I feel like around 12, I started having friends, leaning on them because, you know, my mom was very strict. You do not do sleepovers. You do not go anywhere. So like, I kind of had TV, my brother, me, and books, and writing my journal. So like, I think I was really lonely. I don't think, I know I was really lonely. So I wish I could go there and be my own friend and hug me and just say, you're seen, you're like all the things that I really tell myself when I'm just like shaken from the inside.
That's good. I'm thinking about it, but that's deep. I think for me, you know, with like the Rwandan history and everything, I wish I could go back like to back when I was a kid, I was a baby. But like to meet all those people that I didn't get to meet and talk about history and their lives and get to know them. I think that would be amazing if I could do that. But closing on a positive note, we have 3 minutes left.
Yeah.
What would you like to leave the people who are watching us with?
Oh, what? Wow.
People who stuck with us till now. What would you like to leave them with?
Be with yourself. Know that all you have is you. When the world is falling apart, you will only have you. So be there for you. Believe in yourself. Love yourself. Not like in the literal sense. It's like whatever you want someone to do, that one person that you love, whatever you want to do for them, and it's hard. It's sometimes it's like cringy. I'm like, how am I gonna buy myself? You know. But do all the things that you want to do for other people. Do it for yourself, because at the end of the day, it will be you, and everything will be fine if you have yourself. So don't lose yourself in others. Just, you know.
Thank you so much. I really appreciate you again. I'm so glad I reached out to have this conversation. I've always we've kind of always seen each other from a distance, and I know that you're a genuine person because we have a lot of friends in common.
Yes.
So I'm really glad that I reached out because this was an amazing conversation. So thank you so much.